Hey y'all, Natalie here for a cherry on top, and today we have Freshen Up Volume 4 and we are digging into the stash and using embossing folders, y'all. So I'm going to dive right in here. The first way to use embossing folders in your scrapbooking is just to create layers in the colors of your pattern paper to build a lot of texture in your photos. Now, I don't come up with all these tips, but I did kind of compile them from some research. And some of my research gave the best tip ever. I was so excited. So I was showing you there, sometimes we have problems with our paper cracking. To combat that, spritz your cardstock a little bit with water. Not a lot, don't saturate it. But when you spritz it with water, it won't crack. I had the worst time with this exact embossing folder, splitting all my cardstock, but as soon as I spritzed it with water on either side of the cardstock a little bit, it worked beautifully. And the cardstock dried and it didn't warp or anything like that. I was so excited to learn about this tip. So that's what I'm doing here is I'm spritzing both sides of the cardstock and running it through my proper sandwich on my Big Shot. And I'm sure every die cut machine is different. But yeah, look at that gorgeous leopard. So this is a second technique that you can do. It's double embossing. So I did a smaller print of that leopard and then I ran it through with this larger tree trunk print, and you're going to see both of them, which is super cool. It did smush out the leopard print a little bit, the first embossed image, but you can still see it. And so I really like that added dimension. The third way that you can use your embossing folders is by adding your mixed media directly into them. So I just used some watercolor sprays and I put it on the side that would create the raised image, and it kind of gave it this cool distress, and I really like the way that looks. It looks like a leopard, right? So, and your embossing folders clean right out because they're hard plastic. So another way to get your raised image to really show up off the page is to rub some ink over it. Or this is Distress Oxide, so I just did the same thing. I rubbed over it and then I added water, and it just kind of allows the color to run through the image, almost like when you put texture paste and use it with your mixed media, and the color runs through and makes the raised image show up really well. I love that. That's so fun. So another way to use it is use your dry embossing with heat embossing. So I'm doing it two ways here. I use my Versamark ink and I put it directly onto the raised image, and then I also put it into the raised image of the embossing folder. So they each give you kind of a different look. I'm going to do the heat embossing, and you can see on the one where I put the ink directly into the folder, it kind of puts more of the embossing powder into the background of the image, and then the one where I rubbed the ink over the raised image, it kind of gave the embossing powder on more of the raised part of the image, if that makes sense. I would suggest just using some scrap cardstock and trying both techniques and see which one you like best, or probably both look really cool. So there you can see I used that silver embossing powder and it looks super cool. So lastly, I'm going to use the embossing folders kind of like stamps, and we're going to start creating the layout that I'm doing today. So I'm using these soccer photos of my son in the new Vicki Boutin Storyteller line that is in the store. So I'm going to create a few embossed images with those colors that are in the stripes, and I think I'm going to use them on my layout and end up only using one of them, but that's okay. I had fun playing with my gel press. So right now I'm creating a green color because his soccer team is like a hunter green. So I put that olive with the turquoise color there. And then I added a little black, and it created basically the exact color that I needed. So you'll see that's what I'm doing there. I'm mixing it up just directly, onto my gel press. And then I'm going to use my brayer and I'm going to spread it out. And the first image we're going to pull is, I'm going to try to do like a layered image. So I do just the direct color and I put my paper on top. And then I'm going to add a navy blue because there's navy blue in Vicki's collection as well. And I spread that out with my brayer. And then I'm going to use one of my embossing folders to kind of give it like a stamped image over the painted area. And it didn't get a lot of paint on there, so you can't tell really great, but you see the diagonal lines. And I'll do another example here in a minute. And so then I just added some white because it is layering up, so it'll show up over those dark colors. And I use a star embossing folder as well. Just to kind of give it layers. Yeah, so there you can see the stars a little bit. We cleaned it off, and now we're going to do the like reddish purple color that is in Vicki's collection. And what my idea was to back a soccer ball cut file, and I was going to use all the colors that are in that stripe. But then, although they look really great in that stripe, once I started putting them into the soccer ball, I wasn't loving it. So I decided to go monochromatic there. But as you can see, I didn't even clean off my embossing folder in between. But look how cool that is. It gives really great texture onto the gel press. You could also use like stamping inks with this, would work really well. And there you can see that it gave that impression on the paper. And so it gives the texture without actually having the feel of the texture. So now we're going to get started on the layout. I am going to use that last technique and backing a cut file with an embossed image on my layout. So I have that soccer ball cut out in navy blue and have the photos of my son. I had to tell his story. He's so cute. On the first practice, he said that he wanted to get a golden trophy and then he couldn't wait to meet his best friends. He's just the cutest. So there you can see all the pulls that I did with all the colors that are in that stripe. And so I totally started backing this whole cut file, but I just wasn't feeling it. That green, I did run it through the actual textured embossing folder after doing the stamped image. So you can see those colors just weren't working for me there. So I pull them all off and then I do just a single sheet of the green. And now I'm going to emboss with my embossing folder the actual texture onto that page. And the gel press totally works and is a super cool option. It was just the color palette that wasn't working for me with this layout. So I definitely will be using that again though in the future on other pages. So now we're back in the cut file, and I won't make you watch all of it, but you can see there I'm just like drawing it out and cutting it out, and yeah. And I didn't make all of the stripes go in the same direction or anything. I liked the hodgepodge of it all. But by the magic of editing, there we have the final product. And I really love how it looks. It has that raised image. Super cool. So I'm using that multicolored stripe as the background. And I'm going to layer these 3 photos over the top of the soccer ball. And I'm going to cut a little bit of the striped paper for either side and different widths, just to kind of add interest to the page. And I do rough those up off camera because I like to have the texture. And I almost said I didn't do mixed media, but of course I did because the green on the background is mixed media. So this is the new Heather dye from Pink Fresh Studio, and I'm obsessed with it. You're seeing it on all my layouts lately, and you'll probably see it on more to come. Absolutely, I love it. So what I did was I embossed the stars on that yellow paper, and then I used that to cut out the letters, and then I cut out the outline in white. So the letters of my title are also embossed. The star is kind of wide set, so in some of them it's hard to see, but in the close-up photos you should be able to tell. So off camera, I typed up my journaling and did it in little strips down there. And now it's time to start adhering it all down. So I opened up the Storyteller die cut pack. And first of all, has anybody noticed that American Crafts die cuts lately have been ginormous? Like, they are so big. So many of them are like larger than my photo. But I digress. There weren't a ton that weren't like super girly or that would work for this, but that was okay. I pulled out the leaves, which matched the color of his team, which I loved. And I also loved that Vicki Boutin's lines are like that grungy feel, and I feel like they go really well with Heidi Swapp lines. So I grabbed the Heidi Swapp sticker book from Old School, And I used a few of those. That's where that label up there above the middle photo came from. And I'll actually end up using stickers from her Wolfpack line as well. I did want stars, and there were stars in this Vicki Storyteller line, but they were black, and I had used navy blue as like the cut file and everything, so I didn't really want to do a lot of black. That's why I got the stars from the Wolfpack collection from Heidi Swap. And those stickers are from the Old School sticker book from her, and there were just a couple of good little phrases to use, like positive things, because it was a fun little story about my son, and he smiled the entire game running around the field. He played almost the whole time because we don't have a lot of kids on our team. But I decided we needed another leaf over there on the left, and we're about done. I'm just going to add those stars from the Wolfpack collection, and that'll be about it. So I hope you guys are inspired to pull your embossing folders out from your stash. That is not something that I use all the time, but I had so much fun creating texture on my layout with those. So I will definitely be incorporating those into my process a little bit more here. Let me know if you have any questions, and I have a whole blog post up on a cherry on top today. I'll link it all down below, along with my affiliate link to the store if you need to get any of your own embossing folders. So thanks for watching, y'all. Please like and subscribe. Bye.